Texting or cold calling? If you're watching this video, you're probably trying to decide which one of these two options are gonna make the best sense for you. Is it gonna be a triple line dialer, you're calling a whole bunch of people, or you're gonna be shooting out text messages to people? That's what we're gonna be covering in today's video. We're gonna talk about the pros, the cons, the cost. Should you actually go with text? Or should you go with cold calling? Let's figure it out, guys. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right on into it.
Hey, coming down like precipitation. I ain't never met a...
Now, I wanted to cover this topic because I think that it's very debatable which strategy is actually best. So let's talk about the pros and cons of each, starting with cold calling. Pro number one is going to be that you're actually talking to people. You're having a conversation. You're communicating with someone. So instead of you just, sitting at home all day like you would be when you're texting, you're actually communicating with people. You're talking to people. Some people that may have said no via text, if you get them on a phone call, they may actually be saying yes. So it's a good thing to actually be talking to people. Not to mention, when you're talking to people, you tend to have a higher conversion rate. You tend to get more opportunities talking to people on the phone than you would when you're, just sitting at home texting people. Historically, at least, from what I've seen, the conversion rate has been higher when you're actually talking to people. A triple line dialer is also much easier to use and get through the calls than just using like a single line dialer or just manually dialing people. So, easily in about 4 hours, you could be reaching out to 400 or 500 people, really getting through a lot of leads in a short period of time. Now, you may be thinking, man, this cold calling stuff is sounding kind of good out here, right? Well, there definitely are cons to cold calling as well. Let's talk about it. Con number one about cold calling is going to be that you constantly have to change phone numbers when you're using a triple line dialer. Like, you're blowing through these phone numbers like every 2 days, every day, every week. Like, depending on how much volume you're getting, you're constantly having to change phone numbers because of con number two, which is that you'll constantly be popping up as spam likely and scam likely on people's caller ID. Spam likely, definitely not answering that. So you're at home on your triple line dialer wondering why no one's answering any of your phone calls. And one of the worst parts about cold calling is that you're likely going to be talking to a lot of people who may be cursing you out, going in on you, upset that you've called them 50 times this week, even though it's your first time calling them, threatening you, all types of things. Hi, this is Ed Hayes here calling about your property over at 123 Main Street. Wanted to see if you were interested in selling. Hell no, I'm not interested in selling my house. Boy, what's wrong with you calling my goddamn phone? No. Don't act crazy now, nigga. What's your name? What's your name? Yep. I'm about to send your information over to the feds. No. Don't be sorry now. It's too late, G.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
No. Don't go nowhere.
I'm sorry.
Don't go nowhere. Now let's talk about texting, because it can definitely be a viable option. But does it make sense for you? One of the pros about text messaging is that you can be at home like I am right now and still be able to just simply respond back to text messages on your cell phone moving around. So you don't have to be shackled down to a desk or like on your dialing software all day. You can move around, you can go to the mall, do what you gotta do, and you can still be texting people back. Another thing that I like about text messaging is that you're only talking to warm and hot leads. So these people have already said something like, sure, yes, what's your offer? Things of that nature. So if someone's cursing you out, you can just read it and laugh. And I'll be honest with you, these sellers, they get really, really savage when they're at home and they can spend some time and think about what they want to say back to you. But despite that, it's a lot less demoralizing because you're just seeing everything via text. You can move past some words on the screen. It's a lot different when you're on a phone call with someone and they just going in on you. Another thing I like about text messaging, depending on the software that you're using, definitely check out the link down below for the software that I use. It's called REI Reply. But depending on the software that you're using, you're gonna have some really good automation features. That's what I like about REI Reply. It allows me to be able to automate the entire process of actually getting deals via text message. Basically, it's sending out entire campaigns of text messages. I don't have to sit in front of the screen and just click every single text message out. Ain't nobody got time for that. So if people are cursing you out and saying F off, then you can automatically trigger the system to remove them from your list and put them onto the do not dial list or something like that. If they're saying yes, then you can have the system automatically send a text message and say like, hey, do you have a minute to chat about the property? You also get more control over what's being said to sellers in general. So like on a phone call, you may have the seller ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, and you got to respond to it right then in 1 second, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. Whereas via text message, you could take like 30, 40 seconds, take a minute or two if you need to. You got a little bit of time to think about what you need to do versus with a cold call, you've got to be on it like right then. Not to mention, you'll have more control over what's said to sellers in terms of your virtual assistants. When you have virtual assistants with cold calling, they may say this on one call, they may say this on another one. Even if you have a script, they may go off a little bit and things like that.
Isn't that cute? But it's wrong!
Whereas with text messaging, most of the responses are going to be the same. And then the virtual assistant will have templates inside of the system that all they got to do is like, if a person is saying yes, they click a template and press send basically. So you'll have a lot more control over what your virtual assistants are saying, as well as what you were saying on those messages. Now, you know how I said text messaging can be passive? Well, it can almost be too passive. You can be at home, chilling, relaxing. You start doing whatever you like to do, and then all of a sudden you haven't responded back to anybody. You're wasting time, you're getting lazy, you're not taking advantage of time that you could be doing other things. It can really make you a bit complacent when things are very, very automated like they are when you text message people. You sitting at home chilling with your feet up, you know what I'm saying, comfy as ever. Let's just say I've seen the passiveness come at a detriment to some people. Now, the next downfall to text messaging is not only do you have to swap out those phone numbers just like you have to do when you're text messaging, but you also have to swap out the actual messages that you're sending to people. That can take a ton of time, actually switching up all of your messages, because the companies like T-Mobile and Sprint, Verizon, they're gonna stop sending out your text messages to people. They'll basically be popping up as spam or scam likely as well, but even at a higher frequency depending on what your words are in those messages.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Now, that's not the only thing. If you don't have a lot of time or you can't efficiently be able to respond back to people quickly, text messaging may be very hard for you to get good results. See, when you're texting someone, that person believes that they're actively engaged in a conversation with you right now. So when you're taking 4 hours or 4 days to respond back to people, let's just say it's not gonna work. If this person responded back on a Friday saying, yes, sure, what's your offer? And you wait until Monday, it's a decent probability that they've already signed an agreement with another wholesaler. So you've basically gotten them all hot and ready for another wholesaler to slam dunk them ultimately. So in other words, in general with text, you wanna try to respond back within about 5 minutes or less. If you can, I would say worst case scenario, maybe 10 minutes or so. So then they can feel like they're actively engaged in the conversation. You tend to get much better results. But if you don't have a lot of time, then that may be a big con for you. Now, in terms of cost, texting and cold calling have extremely similar pricing, depending on how much volume you're getting. Now, if you were to go out there and get a triple line dialer from Mojo and you added on the recording feature, if I'm not mistaken, that would add up to about $174 and some change per month, not including like your phone numbers that you have and things of that nature. So basically about 180 bucks. Well, if you text and you use REI Reply with the link down below, right now it's just 50 bucks. And then you'll be able to send out over 16,000 text messages, if I'm not mistaken, for basically about the same price as Mojo Dialer. It's like $170 for text messaging and like $180 for cold calling. Now, those numbers may vary a bit depending on how much volume you get and what features and things like that you add on, but the costs are very, very comparable. So I personally like both. I like texting, I like cold calling. I'm personally using texting right now. You know, we're swapping out those phone numbers and swapping out those messages myself. Depending on what you've got going on in life, what your time schedule is looking like, what your budget looks like, you know, it can make a difference on, you know, which one you actually want to go with. So I'm very curious, guys, like, what do you all use currently for your marketing. Are you cold calling? Are you texting? Or are you using something else? Drop me a comment down below and let me know. Also, man, look, hit the like button for your boy. If y'all appreciate the content, if this is valuable for you, definitely hit the like button for me. I definitely appreciate it.
Push the button. Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. You heard what she said.
And also, did I miss any pros and cons of text messaging versus cold calling? If so, drop any other pros and cons down below. Let's have a conversation as always. And if y'all want to see more videos where I break down the wholesaling space and really try to give y'all some pure nuggets, man, definitely make sure that you check out this video right here. And until next time, guys.